Today we're going to be making another owl for our superb owl book. Hello and welcome back to a kooky corner of YouTube. It's been a long time in the making. This is the next to the last owl that I'm going to be showing you to fit into your owl books or whatever other thing you need to make a little owl for. And that can be quite pertinent because I'm going to show you something in a moment. But first of all, let's see what owl we're going to be making. So let's go through our owlies. Quite a few in here already. There's lovely Elton. There's Einstein. He was the last one we made. And now we've got Merlin. This is little Merlin. There he is. He's been eyed up by this spooky tree down here. Actually, the spooky tree looks a little more scared of Merlin than Merlin does of the spooky tree. So we'll make of that what we will, shall we? So yes. I have got room for one more. I know I've got a few more pages here, but they're going to be doubled up. So one more owl, and then the owl book will be finished because we can't fit any more in. Clearly, it's full. So this was made in the usual way. Now, if you've not seen me make these before, there is a dedicated playlist to the superb owl book. So there's a book itself, to the making of the book, and then all the different owls that we've made in here, there is a separate video for. I've been through how I do this quite a few times. If you want to go and check out how to do that, I'll just basically talk you through it. So you have a pattern. The pattern is one that I've drawn up for you, and it is in my files section in my Cool Kooky Creatures group on Facebook. And you'll find all the other owl patterns in there as well. That's the only way you can get hold of the pattern, basically, is to be in my group. Kind of forcing you over there. No, basically, it's a nice place for me to be able to share these things, and it's just lovely to see what everybody else makes with them as well. So that's another place for people that they can post what they've had a go at. So this is the one that goes in the book. He's got a little 4-inch square that he's sitting on because he's quite a tiny owl. He's not a very big owl. If you look at some of the other owls, they're quite big. He's only a little boy. He's a tiny little boy. So he's on a 4-inch square, which has been, that's just a piece of wool, that is basically, that I've stitched onto. Usually I do like a wool felt base and then put fabric on the top. You can do it however you like, but I've just based him on this little square, and he's got some other fabrics sewn on there as well. And then he's been sewn into, and he's made of basically felt and fabric. So that is him. As I say, the pattern's in the Facebook group. Now, what I'm going to show you today is another way of using your pattern. So say you didn't want to put him in a book. Say you wanted an owl to make a present of. And this is something you could do with any of these owls, by the way. So just sharing you another way of using the pattern. So let me move this one over here for the moment. You can sit up there and watch. So this is another thing you can do. You can make yourself a little hoop. Well, we've done these before on this channel. I think the last one I showed you was a pumpkin, and I've got a few others coming up as well. This one's in a slightly larger hoop, just so that I could fit in some other elements around him. So he'd also got quite a rather large hat as well. So to try and fit him in one of the smaller hoops, it just would have looked too crowded. So I put him in, I think it's a 5.5-inch hoop. 5.5 to 6 inches would do it. And it's been made in a similar way to the way I made the pumpkin. So what I have done is I have traced the pattern using one of these, a friction pen, onto my calico by just the means of putting it in a hoop and then just tracing it on. It's been painted with Inktense pencils. So these guys here, these ones here. I'll try and pick out the pertinent ones. I think I've used just these 6 on my pattern. There's only been 6 used. So the colours I used for this one, very similar to the ones I used pumpkin wise. I'm trying to keep them to a similar kind of colourway as much as I possibly can, because that way you don't have to go out and buy loads more if you haven't got any. So this one is Willow, which is a brown, which is part of his body there. The other part of his body and wings I have somewhere. It's this one, Sicilian Yellow. I've got a beach green, which I used for the little plant pieces around him. Golden Sun and gold. These were interchangeably used for the stars, the moon, and the stars on his hat, basically. And then this one, Mango, was the one that's used for his beak and the little rim that goes around his head. So this is the one that I've made, and we're just going to show you a few videos of how I put this together. So I've recorded them. I'll do voiceovers probably for them because it's going to be a little easier that way, and you'll be able to see how I can use my pattern in order to create one of these as well as one of these. Also, another little out there, throwing it out there, you could use the pattern pieces to create collage. So you could collage out the pieces and do little cards. I might do one of those as well, who knows. But for now, we're going to have a look at how I created this hoop. So we already know how I do these. If you've looked back through my videos, if you don't, you're new here and you've never seen these before, go and search out the Superb Owl collection of videos I have as a playlist, and then you can work your way through them. But as I say, this is just a little different way to use them. And it's quite nice if you want to use them as gifts, or you want them for yourself, or you just don't really want to put them away in a little book. You know, it's however you want to display your owls. So let's have a little look how we put them together. So the first thing that you want to do is to have a square of calico that is a fair bit bigger than your hoop, just so that you've got enough to gather it up at the end. And I'm using the drawing that comes on the pattern piece to draw on my embroidery pattern. So I'm using the friction pen, and then I'm going to draw around because I can see through the calico onto the pattern below. If you can't, then put your piece up against a window and get some natural light behind it. It will show up really easily. Also, you could use a light box if you've got one of those as well. And trace the whole of your pattern onto the calico. The next thing that you're going to do then, whilst you've got your calico in the hoop, is to colour in the pieces. It's much easier to do it with the calico facing down onto the table the wrong way. We will re-hoop this when it's been coloured in and painted, but this is just a better way to do it. So using your Inktense pencils, the ones that I showed you right at the beginning, or different colourways, you can do it however you like. You could give them a purple hat if you wanted to. But yeah, we're going to colour this in and make sure that we've got enough of the pigment down in order to get a nice colour going on with this. You can also layer these colours up, so once it's dried you can go in and add more. So don't press on too hard to start off with. Give yourself a little bit of leeway so that you can add more in, add shadows in, etc. if you need to. And we're going to go through the whole of this piece and just colour it in, but I'm just showing you how to do the hat for now. So when that is all coloured in, I will then go in with my water brush. You can use a brush and just some water in a jug if you wanted to, or you can use a water brush. I quite like the water brush because it doesn't let me get too much water onto my brush, which can sometimes cause the problems of it getting too watered down. So water brush works really well on Inktense, and I'm using it now just to wet down the Inktense pencil that I've drawn on there, and you can see that it really makes it vibrant and stands out. It will dull down a little bit, and obviously it will fade a little bit when it's dry, but it really does work perfectly on fabric. I have to say, Inktense is one of my favourite ways of colouring my embroidery pieces. So now we're just going to re-hoop. Now we finish painting, we're just going to take it out of the hoop and reposition it back onto the inner ring, and then put it the right way around for stitching and displaying. And that's a really good method because you can see where the hoop's been, so you just literally match it up and then replace the top hoop and screw it up nice and tightly, ready for stitching. So now we're on to the stitching process. You can see that I've already gone around my hat. I've been using a split back stitch for this. You could use a back stitch equally or an outline stitch, whatever stitches you like. The point is for you just to play around and find out what you enjoy and how you enjoy to stitch your pieces in. You could even do some thread painting at this point in time. It is absolutely up to you. Even if you did thread painting, the underpainting would help because it helps to cover up any little gaps that you might do once you're doing satin stitches, etc. And I will be doing a little bit of satin stitch on my owl, especially in the eye area, and also some chain stitching to get those circles around the eyes. But yeah, use whichever your favourite stitches are and just go for it and enjoy the process. Make sure that your hoop stays nice and tight by pulling on the fabric gently just to keep that tautness of the fabric, and that will really, really help with the stitching process. So now I'm using a metallic thread to outline my moon and stars. I really love using the Diamante Grande by DMC in a gold. You could get this in silver as well You can get it in a black, and you can get it in a couple of different golds, and maybe a rose gold as well. I really enjoy using this one. It's the one that doesn't cause me too many problems. Metallic thread is notorious for fraying and doing all kinds of weird things, but this one behaves itself fairly well. And then just continue stitching your piece in whichever stitches you enjoy using. Back stitch, satin stitch, seed stitch, however you want to do it. It will be personal to you. But there are a few basic ones that you could have a look at and use, and they would look fantastic on this. So I hope you've enjoyed having a little look at how to put these together. The backs are finished off in a very similar way. I pull up the back, I leave myself some fabric on the back so that I can pull it up around there, and then I just attach some felt onto the back to cover up, and it kind of finishes that off nicely. Also, if you wanted to put a little note on there about when you made it or who made it or what it is, then that's a good surface to do that on as well. So you could make a little tag and stitch that on, which makes this even more personal to someone that you're giving it to. Anyway, that's enough from me for today. I hope you've enjoyed this little look into our Merlyn Owl. And we've got one more owl left to do. So that's going to be coming up probably next month. And that will be the end of all the owls. Well, no, I'm sure more owls will pop up at some point in time, knowing me. Anyway, that's enough from me. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, don't forget to give it a like. And if you're enjoying the content here, then don't forget to subscribe, and that way you'll get to know every time I upload a video here on YouTube. That's enough from me, and I will see you very soon with something else. Bye for now.